Hey, what's up, y'all? So we're gonna be doing financial calculator questions today, and I thought it'd be really cool if I went over them with you instead of just throwing up the numbers. Because if you've never used a financial calculator before, it can look a little daunting, but it's really not. So the only way that I could do this is to share my phone onto my computer and then record it via that. That way you weren't just looking at the computer the entire time. So hold on just a second. I'm going to pull my phone up to the screen, and that way you can see the calculator that I use. So hold on one second. I'm going to do that. I'm going to share my iPhone. Got to install that, even though we've already done it before. And we should be in. Okay, great. All right, so this is what a financial calculator looks like. And like I said before, you've got 5 buttons up top. N stands for number of months. So that has to do with how long a loan or a note or any kind of investment is going to last, or whatever calculation you're going to do. So for today, we're going to be working with mortgages, and it's all going to be 30-year fixed. So 30 years times 12 is going to be 360. So that's what we're going to be putting right here. We're going to be looking at interest rates in this. And so we're only going to be using the I side of this button. The YR stands for yearly return. And that would be if you're evaluating a particular investment, it would tell you what your yearly return was going to be. All right, PV stands for present value. And what that has to do with is it has to do with the present value of the loan or the note or anything from the time that you're doing the calculation. So for what we're going to be using it for, we're just going to use what was the loan value as present value. Payment is self-explanatory. That's going to be what's either being paid towards you or paid away from you. So whether you're paying it to the bank or whether somebody's paying it to you. When mortgages, you pay away. And so the reason why it's important is because when we do these calculations, this number is going to be a negative number. So I just want you to know that. And then the last thing is future value. In our scenario, it's going to be a 0 because mortgages pay off. So the very first thing that we're going to look at is, trying to go dead on me, is we're going to be looking at a 30-year fixed mortgage, and it's got an interest rate of 3.45% if it was in January of 2022. The present value of the loan, if we were looking at a $350,000 home, would go into PV, and then we'll put a 0 for future value. Now what you do is you just hit the payment button, and it pops up what the payment is. Once again, this is negative $1,561.90. So whenever they're doing loan calculations, they're looking at how much can somebody pay a month. And if somebody could qualify for a $350,000 mortgage in January, this is the payment a month that they could qualify for. So our interest rate just went up to 6.1% in June. Let's see what happens if we change. We're not going to change anything because it's going to be a 30-year fixed mortgage. It's going to be a different interest rate. Let's leave this payment the same because we're assuming that the buyer's wage did not increase, which would allow them to be able to pay more per month. It's only the interest rate is going to change, and we're going to see what will happen to their buying power. So we're going to take that 3.45, we're going to make it a 6.1, hit IYR. So notice that it just changed the IYR. Now what I want you to do is hit PV and see what happens. $257,000. So we went from somebody that could qualify for a $350,000 mortgage down to a $257,000 mortgage. That's nearly $100,000 lost in buying power from the interest rate increase. That's a pretty big deal. All right. So what do you think is going to happen with that? What do you think people are going to be able to do? Are they going to be able to afford more of a payment? Well, let's find out how much more of a payment is. All right. So I want you to remember 1561.90. All right. Let's put $350,000 back into PV because that's what they were qualifying for before. If they're looking at a $350,000 house, let's look at the same $350,000 house. Matter of fact, let me write down that 1561 real quick. 1561.90. All right. So if we put 350 back into PV and we solve for payment, their payment went up to 2120.98. Okay, that is a difference of nearly $600. It's $559. And do remember, these calculations don't include taxes and insurance. This is just a principal and interest payment alone. So this is the fixed numbers. And then I don't know about y'all, but my taxes just went up on every one of my properties, every single one of them. So my payment just went up tremendously. Insurance has gone up. And so we've got gas up, we've got cost of goods and services, we've got material shortage going up, we got all this stuff going up. And could somebody afford an additional $559? That's possible. Is it going to be easier today than it was last year? No. So what's happening here is we're seeing our buyer's pool go down. All right. So let's look at the numbers. Let's back it back down and do something where we look at what was happening at a $300,000 mortgage. So if we had a $300,000 mortgage, people were looking at $300,000 houses in January. It was a 30-year fix. We got 3.45 was the interest rate, 0, and that's what their payment is. All right. Let's change the interest rate to 6.1%. All right. Now we're going to hit that PMT button to solve again. Or no, I'm sorry, not doing payment. We're doing present value. So we're 300,000. We want to look and see how much of a house can they afford right now. $220,000. At a $300,000 mortgage in January, or a $300,000 house in January, today that person can only afford a $220,000 house. See where I'm going with this? Let's do two more. Let's go back to the 3.45% interest. Let's do a $250,000 mortgage. In a lot of areas, a $250,000 mortgage is an entry-level house. Okay, their payment would be $11, $15, $65. Now, if we put in the new interest rate, we're going to solve for present value. That drops them down to $184,000. Do you see how their buying power has just went way down? I don't know about your area, but in my area, there's not a lot of $184,000 houses. Right? We sold one last week for $200,000. It was an entry level house. Let's put that into the equation and see what happens. So we got to change back to 3.14 or 3.45. All right. We're going to do a $200,000 present value, get our payment. All right. $892.52. Now we got to change to the new interest rate one more time. 6.1 and solve for PV. $147,000. So they just lost over $50,000 worth of buying power. And once again, how many $147,000 houses are available in your market that are rent ready or that are move-in ready? The answer is not much. So what I just saw with that is my entry-level people that had a rate locked in before the rate increase happened would not be able to afford a house that they just purchased last week. All right. There are no $147,000 houses that we see right now. So this is something that should be concerning you. If you are a flipper, this could really concern you. If you are a wholesaler, this should really concern you. If you are a consumer and you're wanting to go and buy a house, you need to be paying attention to this because your costs for buying a house just went way up. So this does concern you. Anyway, that's how we do the calculations on that. And if you have questions about it, see y'all.